Breaking news just this hour from the CDC. Travelers are advised to avoid cruise travel, even if they're fully vaccinated. Royal Caribbean provides us with an update on the impact of Omicron on the cruise business. And despite the newness of the CDC travel advisory, the cruise industry is already crying foul, saying we're being singled out unfairly. All this coming up on Midships. Welcome to the Midships YouTube channel. I'm your Captain Corey. Thanks so much for stopping by the channel today. Well, you might want to get comfortable for this one. Grab your favorite fizzy beverage, maybe even pour it over some ice because we've got bad news in today's episode. All right, so it is a dark day, the darkest day we've seen in a while for cruise news. All because of this story coming out of the CDC, a brand new travel advisory, totally advising you not to cruise, even if you're fully vaccinated and boosted. Let's hear it straight from the horse's mouth. CDC.gov. This is the COVID-19 and cruise ship travel advisory just put out December 30th of 2021. And you can see that we are now at a level 4, very high level of COVID. The COVID-19 travel health notice has been updated from level 3 to level 4, the highest possible level. This reflects increases in cases on board cruise ships since identification of the new Omicron variant. Key information for cruise ship travelers: avoid cruise travel regardless of vaccine status. Even fully vaccinated travelers may be at risk for getting and spreading COVID and its variants. If you travel on a cruise ship, make sure you are fully vaccinated before travel and get a COVID vaccine booster dose if you're eligible. Along with testing, passengers who are not fully vaccinated should self-quarantine for 5 full days after travel. So of course, this is disappointing news for cruise lovers like yourself. However, the article does go on to give some really useful information on how you can best protect yourself if you decide you still want to cruise despite this new travel advisory. And as you might expect, like sharks to blood, the news media has jumped on this new announcement from the CDC. We're going to start with an article published just an hour ago by Axios, by Aaron Doherty. The CDC said Thursday that passengers should avoid cruise ships regardless of their vaccine status, citing an increased threat of COVID-19. Driving the news, the CDC raised its travel health notice to the highest level on Thursday, citing that COVID spreads easily between people in close quarters on board ships, adding that the chance of getting the virus on board could be very high. And the big picture is the health notice comes as a surge of COVID-19 cases, likely driven by the Omicron variant, batters the cruise industry. And please note that it is not just the cruise industry specifically being battered by the Omicron variant. The airline industry also was totally battered by the Omicron variant. If you were paying attention to the news during the holiday travel times, thousands of flights were canceled because airline staff and crew were out sick due to COVID. As of Thursday, the CDC said it was actively investigating or observing 91 total cruise ships with COVID spread on board. And in response to this news coming out of the CDC, the Cruise Line International Association, or CLIA for short, made the following statement. The decision by the CDC to raise the travel level for cruise is particularly perplexing, considering that cases identified on cruise ships consistently make up a very slim minority of the total population on board those ships. While we're disappointed and disagree with the decision to single out the cruise industry, CLIA and our ocean-going cruise line members remain committed to working collaboratively with the CDC in the interest of public health and safety. And single out the cruise industry, once again, they did. Why is it that consistently the cruise industry is the only major industry to be hit with these unfair requirements? Just take a look at the real-world implications immediately that occurred because of this new announcement. From investing.com by Samuel Bodega. Cruise line stocks dip after CDC says avoid travel. Cruise line stocks dipped just after midday Thursday after the US CDC said people should avoid cruise travel regardless of vaccine status. Royal Caribbean shares fell into the red on the news. Carnival shares are currently down, and Norwegian Cruise Line's holding shares are down as well. So immediately, we are seeing real-world repercussions from these announcements coming out of the CDC. And to be quite honest, this is something that we were expecting, but unfortunately, it still feels like it's completely unfair to single out just this one industry, when over the past few days, we've shown you that there are spikes Everywhere, even in places with super high vaccination rates like New York, we're seeing historical spikes in COVID transmission right now. So it's not just cruises that are having problems, it's everywhere that's having trouble controlling this new variant. Hang on a second, before we get into our next story, I'd like to remind you that all the articles referenced in today's Midships episode are linked in the description below this video. Also, while you're down there, at the very top of our description box, there's a link to the Midships Instagram page, as well as there are some Amazon affiliate links to some cruise swag that I take with me on every single cruise. The best part is, this cruise swag, most of it costs $10 or less, and just clicking on the links does help give back to the channel just a little bit. Back to the cruise news. It seems like the cruise industry as a whole feels like they're not being given a fair shake when you compare this to other industries with fewer regulations and with less government control over their day-to-day operations. With that in mind, let's take a look at an article coming out from Sang News by Jeff Sally. With a new travel advisory and investigations, the cruise industry accuses the CDC of singling them out. The cruise industry is blasting the CDC for issuing a new travel advisory advising against cruise travel after dozens of COVID cases were reported on 90 cruise ships. And in a quote from CLIA, the Cruise Line International Association, they said, "The CDC's decision to raise the cruise travel level is particularly perplexing." CLIA accused the CDC on Thursday of focusing on the cruise industry despite rising cases of the virus across other industries. While no setting is immune to the virus, cruising provides one of the highest levels of demonstrated virus mitigation, according to CLIA. Cruise ships provide a highly controlled environment with science-backed measures, known testing and vaccination levels far above other venues or modes of transportation and travel, and significantly lower incidence rates than on land. The CDC said there will be no changes as a result of the new travel advisory, and no cruise lines have stated they will cease operations. So CLIA, the Cruise Line International Association, basically came out today and said, "What the heck, CDC? Why do we have this new travel advisory? We've got our stuff under control. Sure, there's a few more cases. Most of them are asymptomatic. Most of them are mild. We're not having the problems that you're having on land. Why single out the cruise industry?" I'd love to hear your opinion about the new travel advisory in the comments below this video. Given the new surge of the Omicron variant, Royal Caribbean has provided an update on their business impact. From cruiseindustrynews.com, the company said that Omicron has significantly altered the COVID landscape for everyone, leading to service disruptions, cancellations, and impacts on bookings. According to the cruise line, the Omicron variant is significantly more infectious than its predecessors and has already become the dominant form of COVID in the US and elsewhere. And we'll read a quote from their press release. "Fortunately, Omicron also appears to cause significantly less severe symptoms than earlier variants, especially for those who are vaccinated. Cruising remains one of the few places one can vacation knowing that nearly everyone you meet is fully vaccinated." Royal Caribbean's numbers indicate an increase in people testing positive without a corresponding increase in people becoming ill. Since cruising restarted in the US in June of 2021, the Royal Caribbean Group has carried 1.1 million guests, with 1,745 people testing positive, or a positivity rate of 0.02%, according to the company. Furthermore, the vast majority of those cases were asymptomatic or only mildly symptomatic, with only 41 people needing hospitalization. None of the Omicron cases have been severe or needed to be taken to a hospital. These figures are a result of almost everyone on board being fully vaccinated and testing negative prior to embarkation. Richard Fain, chairman and CEO of Royal Caribbean, said the following: "Omicron is having a big short-term impact on everyone, but many observers see this as a major step towards COVID-19 becoming endemic rather than epidemic. We don't like to see even one case, but our experience is a fraction of the comparable statistics of virtually any other comparable location or industry. Few businesses are subject to such intense scrutiny, regulation, and disclosure requirements by so many authorities." So Richard Fain is coming out very deliberately to say that Royal Caribbean is going to continue to change their policies and update their protocols in order to maintain the safest possible cruise for you and your family. If you made it this far into today's video, why haven't you subscribed to the channel yet? Thanks so much for stopping by today, and until next time, we'll see ya on the Midships.
La 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 la